Today we will explore together the most important ideas of Stoicism with the help of these videos. About an hour long, learn about the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and other ancient thinkers and how their teachings can help us to live better in today's world. We will see how this philosophy, although born many years ago, can still guide us when we encounter problems and help us feel calmer and safer in our daily lives. If you are visiting my channel for the first time, I invite you to subscribe and like the video. This helps me a lot to continue creating content like this and sharing ideas that can do good. As we move forward, I invite you to think about your own life, what you believe, what you feel, and how these ideas can help you have a clearer mind, a calmer heart, and a deeper connection with everything around you. Get ready to enter the world of Stoicism and learn lessons that never go out of style, which can help you live a happier and more meaningful life. This path we will take. It's not just about learning new things, but also to look at life with different eyes, and perhaps to find a way to feel more fulfilled inside and stronger outside. Let's start this journey of discovery and growth together. The story of the lion and the farmer. Once upon a time, there was a very strong lion who fell in love with a farmer's daughter, but the farmer didn't trust the lion, and when he learned of his feelings, he wanted to do everything he could to keep him away from his daughter. Then the farmer, who was very clever, had an idea. He called the lion and said, "If you really want to marry my daughter, you must first remove your claws. They're dangerous, and I want to make sure she's safe." The lion thought for a moment. He was very much in love and believed this sacrifice was worth it. So he went to a rock and painstakingly filed his claws until they were no longer sharp. The next day he returned to the farmer and said, "Look, I don't have any claws anymore. Can I marry your daughter?" But the farmer asked him something else. "Now I want you to remove your fangs. They could also cause damage." Although the lion hesitated, he accepted it again. He broke his teeth and fangs and returned to the farmer. But this time, the farmer lacked the strength to defend himself and pushed him, injuring him. The lion couldn't protect himself. What can we learn from this story? Out of love, the lion gradually gave up what made him strong. It wasn't the farmer who forced him to do so. It was the lion himself who decided to give up what was essential within him. In life, it can also happen that we change too much or stop being who we are because we want to please others or because we are afraid of not belonging. It is important to learn to protect what is valuable within ourselves, such as our dignity, our values, and our inner strength. Two important ideas to consider. Treat others with respect. Sometimes when someone wants to improve, others mock them or hold them back, like crabs in a bucket, preventing one of them from escaping. But a brave heart doesn't mock or demean. When someone makes mistakes, you can help them with respect and affection. Leading by example is much better than harsh criticism. Take our responsibility. Back to the lion. He forgot his responsibility to take care of himself and respect his own nature. Taking responsibility is not a burden, but an opportunity to grow. Fulfill our duties, care for those we love, and make the right decisions helps us to be proud of who we are. A phrase you should remember is, responsibility is the path to greatness. Number 3, running away from failure. Many men today are afraid of failure, and because of this fear, they quit. They remain silent. They prefer to stay with what they know, even if it doesn't help them grow. Why? Because growth hurts, and it's often disguised as failure. But here's the secret. Failure is not your enemy. It's part of the journey. Imagine a man digging for diamonds. Day after day, all he sees is dirt, stones, and sweat. Some give up and say, "There's nothing here." But those who persevere, those who persist, discover that the diamond has always been there, only deeper. That's how life works. Every time you fail, you're not taking a step backward. You're digging closer to the diamond. If you fail to start a business, make a mistake with a woman, or botch a job interview, it doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've learned something. And as you keep going, you get stronger. Many of us were raised to avoid making mistakes. We were taught to be ashamed when something went wrong. "It wasn't my fault," we say. We look for someone to blame, as if that would save us. but that only weakens us. Remember this sentence. He is a weak man who blames the strength of others for his failures. A real man accepts what happens to him. He learns, he gets up, and he moves on. Number 4, easily submitting to senseless laws. There's a big difference between a coward and a man of high worth. A coward hides behind the crowd. They prefer to repeat what everyone else says, even if it's wrong. They follow what's popular, even if their soul tells them something's wrong. Why? Because they're afraid of standing out. And the worst part is, that same coward expects you to keep your mouth shut too. You may obey without thinking, but you're not here to obey blindly. You're here to live purposefully. A valuable man doesn't say yes to everything. He pauses, observes, analyzes, and decides with the truth in his heart. In a world where you learn not to judge, you must have the courage to think for yourself. You are not a puppet. You are not a lab mouse. You are a human being with a mission, with strength and discernment. Obedience is not a weakness if you do it willingly and not out of fear. Obey only what suits your purpose. And never forget this. The only true law is above all the law of the Creator. Ask yourself, do I live to please others? Am I afraid to say what I think? Do I reveal my truth to avoid causing discomfort? Many men live quietly, even within marriage. They don't correct, they don't express their opinions, they don't act. They become shadows of themselves. And that's not respect, that's feudal submission. You're not here to be a slave, you're here to lead, firmly and with love. Number 5. You have weak body language. Your body speaks before you, much earlier. Your posture, your appearance, the way you walk and move, all of this tells the world who you are, even before you say a single word. A weak handshake, a hunched back, avoiding eye contact. These are signs of insecurity. They're signals that others immediately pick up on. If you don't present yourself as someone with presence, strength, and confidence, no one will take you seriously. Practice. Walk with your shoulders straight, look into the eyes, speak clearly and distinctly without hesitation. Take a seat, don't hide. It's not about appearing arrogant. It's about showing that you know who you are, that you're alert, strong, and ready to face life. The way you move can change the way you think, and the way you think changes your life. People can tell if you're strong or weak just by how you use your body. These days, when many ideas seem to contradict what was once considered strength, it's very important for men to pay attention to the way they move and express themselves without speaking. When using your body consciously, you need to pay attention to how you stand, how you walk, and how you look at others. Keep your back straight, walk with a firm stride, and look confidently at people when speaking to them. Remember, before you say a single word, your body is already speaking for you. And what it shows can lead others to respect you or mistreat you. When you appear confident and strong, someone is less likely to want to take advantage of you. This is a very useful skill for living a better life, whether at home, with friends, or at work. Number 6. Don't exploit your youth. Here we always talk about how important your younger years are. 20 to 30 are your golden years. It's the best time to build something valuable in your life. Imagine a farmer planting a seed. He doesn't expect it to bear fruit the next day. He knows it will take time. Likewise, you need to plant good things in your younger years, in your mind, in your heart, and in your body. However, don't expect everything to happen quickly. Just keep sowing, keep working on yourself, and one day you'll see that all these efforts have yielded great results. Sowing means making an effort, challenging yourself, learning new things, and taking care of yourself. This doesn't mean you should work all the time without rest, but it does mean you should use your energy and desire to move forward. It may seem like you're missing out on fun things when you focus on yourself, but later you'll find it was worth it. The wise King Solomon said, "You who are young, be happy while you are young and enjoy your days, but remember that everything you do has consequences." Number 7. Being lazy or wasting time. The way we structure our day has a big impact on what we achieve. What time do you go to bed? What time do you get up? What do you do after you've finished your homework or work? These questions are important. These are things you shouldn't just think about when you have time. If you want to grow and succeed, You need to plan your days carefully. Think of those who have a lot of power. They planned everything they did. You can do the same with your life. Look at who you spend your time with, what you watch, what you listen to, and what you think. If you don't take care of this, you can fill your mind with ideas that don't help you improve. Laziness is one of today's greatest enemies. You can have great ideas, but if you don't act on them, they'll be lost. Laziness gradually sets in. If you're not paying attention, it will catch up with you and distract you from your goals. But a strong man learns to recognize laziness and eliminate it. Remember this: many want you to continue with weakness, but true virtue is strength. Try to be strong at all times and remember that God is a source of great power. Every day brings new opportunities for growth. Seize them decisively. The strength of body and mind are very valuable treasures. Believing in something greater can help you a lot, even in difficult times. Marcus Aurelius was one of the most famous Stoic thinkers. He was Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD. He was the last of the 5 rulers considered wise and just in history. Although Marcus Aurelius had a lot of power, he chose to live a just life and always tried to do the right thing, even though he could have whatever he wanted without limits. During his life as king, he wrote many texts about his thoughts and reflections. These writings are now known as Meditations and have become one of the most important books of Stoic philosophy. In her Meditations, Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the Roman Empire and one of the most influential Stoic thinkers in history, leaves us with a profound legacy on how to improve ourselves as human beings. Through his words, he teaches us to view life from a broader, almost cosmic perspective, and to continually question the judgments we make about ourselves and others. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, a man with the burden of an empire on his shoulders, facing wars, difficult decisions, and problems that threatened the fate of millions. Instead of giving in to stress or ego, however, he used Stoic philosophy as a compass to remain calm, just, and wise. His goal was not simply to rule with power, but to do so with virtue. If this is your first time visiting my channel, don't forget to support me by liking and subscribing. This way I can continue to share more valuable content and reflections like this with you. Stoicism is not just a theory, it is a way of thinking, living, and being. It is a guide to finding inner peace in a chaotic world. For the Stoics, the key to happiness lay not in having more things or controlling externals, but in doing the right thing. And to achieve that, you need clear judgment and a mind trained in reason. Below I share 5 essential lessons inspired by the teachings of Marcus Aurelius that will help you develop a rational mind and a more fulfilling life. Lesson 1. Embrace the virtues. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Search your inner self, for if you persevere in the search, a source of goodness awaits." Virtues are like the roots of a great tree. They give your life stability, strength, and meaning. Practicing virtue means acting morally correctly. It not only benefits you, but also helps those around you and ultimately the entire world. Stoicism teaches that we are all interconnected. Whatever you do, no matter how small, has an impact. When you live virtuously, you not only grow as an individual, but also contribute to creating a more just, compassionate, and empowering society. But what does it really mean to live virtuously? For the Stoics, there are 4 fundamental virtues. 1. Wisdom. Wisdom isn't simply about accumulating knowledge. It's about knowing how to distinguish between the good, the bad, and what's not so important. It's about being calm enough not to get carried away by emotions. It's that inner voice that tells you, breathe, think, decide well. When faced with a dilemma, wisdom helps you see clearly, think before you act, and decide what is right, even if it is not the easiest thing to do. 2. Justice. Justice isn't just about laws and punishments. It's a sincere commitment to doing what's right, both with oneself and with others. Being fair means treating everyone with respect, helping where you can, and not taking advantage of anyone. For the Stoics, justice is a responsibility. It's about serving the common good and building a society where everyone can thrive. 3. Courage. Courage doesn't mean not being afraid. It's acting despite fear. It's getting up when you fall, speaking up when everyone is silent, and carrying on even when you don't know what will happen. Courage allows you to face pain, failure, and uncertainty with dignity. It's the force that pushes you to stay true to your principles, even when the world is pushing you in the opposite direction. 4. Temperance, moderation. Temperance is the inner balance that helps you avoid extremes. It's about knowing when to stop, when to say enough, and when to wait. In a world full of temptations and excesses, temperance means freedom. Marcus Aurelius spoke about the importance of self-control as a skill that distinguishes us from animals. Let's take a simple example: a bag of chips. You may enjoy eating it whole, but it probably won't benefit you. Practicing temperance means enjoying without falling into excess. That means yes to measure and no to purpose. The Stoics divided things into 3 categories: good, evil, and indifferent. For them, the only truly good thing is to act virtuously. Evil is to act against it. Everything else, money, fame, pleasure, pain, even death, is indifferent, not because it doesn't matter, but because it doesn't define your worth as a human being. On difficult days, remember, virtues can be your best allies. They will help you stay strong, make good decisions, and live purposefully. As Marcus Aurelius taught, true greatness lies in mastering your own mind, not the world. Do you want to be a better person? A better leader, brother, father, friend? Start indoors, embrace the virtues, cultivate a rational mind, and you will see your life align with something greater: wisdom, justice, balance, and the courage to live meaningfully. Seek the good, avoid the evil, and understand indifference. One of the most important ideas of Stoicism is this: do good, avoid evil, and don't worry too much about what is not up to you. This principle is simple, yet profound. It means that in your daily life, you should strive to be a good person, make the right choices, and reject all unfair or harmful actions. If you choose to cheat, lie, steal, or simply not help when you could have, you are moving away from virtue. And moving away from virtue is like moving away from the best version. On the other hand, there are actions that the Stoics considered indifferent. For example, taking a walk, drinking water, or choosing between wearing a red or blue shirt. These things are neither bad nor good in themselves. They only become valuable when performed virtuously. Walking, for example, can be merely a physical act, or it can become a moment of reflection, rest, and connection with oneself. When you live in search of good and avoid evil, your mind finds more than just discipline. It finds serenity. You begin to feel an inner peace because you know you are acting righteously, guided by reason rather than blind impulses. This serenity is a treasure, and it comes when your actions are aligned with your deepest values. Lesson number 2. Take a broader perspective. Marcus Aurelius quoted Plato and said something that still resonates today. If you want to talk about people, it's better to take a bird's-eye view and see everything at once. This idea is like climbing a hill when you're lost in the woods. From below, everything looks confusing. All you see are trees. However, if you climb up and look from above, you can see the road, the landscape, and even where you should be going. In everyday life, we often get caught up in our own problems: an argument, bad news, a mistake. Everything seems huge, urgent, difficult. But when you take a step back, breathe, and look at things from a different perspective, everything looks different. Imagine you're in the middle of a crowd. From inside, everything seems chaotic, noisy, and crowded. But when you stand on a balcony, you realize it's just a small group of people in a big city, nothing you can't handle. This is the assumption of a panoramic view. Get out of the drama of the moment and look at things with more clarity and distance. When we do this, we also begin to understand something very important. Our problems are not the only ones in the world. We often believe that our experience is the absolute truth. For example, if someone has had bad experiences with dogs, they might conclude that all dogs are dangerous. But that's only part of the story. There are millions of people who love their dogs, care for them, and live with them as part of their family. Seeing this requires humility. It requires you to ask yourself, what am I missing? What am I overlooking? expand your mind to make better decisions. Let's look at a practical example. Let's say you're deciding whether to stay at your current job or accept an offer from another company. Your current job is stable, but perhaps it no longer inspires you. The new job seems interesting, offers better pay, but involves more risk and responsibility. Such decisions can be stressful if you approach them only with fear or doubt. But if you take a step back and look with an open mind, you may discover new possibilities. What if, instead of choosing between one or the other, you looked for a third path? Perhaps you could start a personal project that complements your work, or learn something new as you continue working. Sometimes the best path isn't black and white, but one you haven't considered yet. The key is inside. Broaden your perspective. Don't make decisions based solely on what's in front of you. Explore the bigger picture, imagine new routes, listen to other voices. Create space for reflection and creativity. Learn to let go and appear more relaxed. A more comprehensive perspective also means go away from yourself. A little. Not everything is about you. Sometimes, if you take a step back, you can see how your actions affect others, how your decisions affect your community or even your family. Think about it. You might think throwing a piece of trash on the street is unimportant. But when thousands of people think the same thing, the effects become visible. Pollution, dirt, environmental damage. What seemed insignificant becomes part of a larger problem. So by seeing from a broader perspective, you can not only make better choices for yourself, but also live more consciously and connected to others. Seeking the good, acting with virtue, and looking at life from a broader perspective are habits that build a strong and serene mind. Remember, you are not alone in the world. Your decisions, no matter how small they may seem, are part of something bigger. And when you learn to recognize this, your life is full of meaning, clarity, and peace. However, if you pause for a moment and think beyond yourself, you can imagine what would happen if everyone acted the same way. The small desire to throw a piece of paper on the ground seems much more serious when compared to the damage it can cause to the planet. As we said before, Stoic philosophers believed that everything in the world was interconnected. They thought that if you do something good for the world, you also help yourself. Therefore, it is very valuable to look beyond your own life and think about the good of everyone. When you're faced with a difficult decision, a problem, or an important change, you have the opportunity to ask yourself questions that will help you understand what you're feeling and thinking. You can do this right away or later, perhaps while taking a quiet walk or writing in a notebook, which Marcus Aurelius, a very important wise man, often did. These questions will help you look within and reflect on your actions. Perhaps in the midst of your emotions, you think that littering is no big deal. But if you take some time to reflect on the world at large and consider what would happen if everyone did the same thing, you'll realize that this impulse isn't as valuable as caring about everyone's well-being. As explained above, the Stoics believed that all things are one, and that improving the world also leads to a better life. Therefore, it's very important to take a step back and observe the whole world, not just your life. By looking at things from a broader perspective, you'll be able to think more clearly. Without being caught up in fears or misconceptions, you'll feel freer and know what's right. Lesson number 3. Exercise the duality of control. Marcus Aurelius left us a powerful sentence. Your power lies in your mind, not in external events. Recognize this, and you will find strength. This idea is at the heart of what the Stoics call the duality of control. And what does that mean? This means that there are two kinds of things in life: things you can control, things you can't control. For example, you can't decide whether it will rain tomorrow, whether someone will be nice to you, or whether there will be traffic when you leave the house. But you can control how you prepare. You can bring an umbrella, leave early, and maintain a good attitude no matter what. The Stoics believe that we should focus our energy only on what we do. Yes, it is in our hands, because fighting against what we cannot change only creates frustration, anger, and unnecessary sadness. Every time something bothers you, ask yourself, is it my fault or not? If the answer is and, do what you can. If the answer is no, breathe, let go and move on. A very special part of this lesson is the concept of fati love. What means love your destiny? Don't just accept what happens, but embrace it with an open heart. Imagine you've missed out on an important opportunity, a job you wanted with all your heart. At first it hurts, it seems like an injustice, but if you pause and look deeper, you can learn something from the experience. Maybe you didn't do something right, that can be improved next time, or maybe you weren't chosen for reasons beyond your control, like favoritism or unfair decisions. Why should anyone blame you in this case? If it wasn't in your hands, it was never a real opportunity. Love fate. It doesn't mean smiling fake in the face of sadness, but rather understanding that every experience, good or bad, can teach you something valuable. It's also important not to measure your life by external rules. If you want to be a writer and only feel successful when you sell thousands of books, you're leaving your happiness to the market. But if you measure your success by what you've learned, the effort you've put in, or how much you enjoyed writing, then the control is in your hands. Always do your best, but accept that not everything is in your hands. When you do, there's a very special feeling of peace. You know you've done your best and that the rest doesn't depend on you. And if you enjoy the content, consider becoming a member of the channel. Not only will you be helping the channel, but you'll also have access to exclusive content. Click the link in the description and become a member now. Back to content. Lesson number 4. Train your perception. Marcus Aurelius wrote something very wise. Choose not to get hurt and you won't. Have you ever considered that you can decide how you want to think about what happens? You may not be able to stop someone from saying something mean, but you can choose whether to take it as an attack or as an opportunity to practice patience. The Stoics taught that it is not the event itself that influences us, but what we think about it. Perception is powerful. It's like the filter through which we see the world. Imagine you go to a party and don't know anyone. You might think, how boring, I'm not having fun, what a waste of time. Or you can think, maybe it's a good opportunity to observe something, meet someone, or just enjoy the atmosphere. The same thing happens when you're having a bad day. If you repeat in your mind, everything has gone wrong, my life is terrible, nothing makes sense, your mind will start believing it and you will feel worse. But if you stop and think, it was a difficult day, yes, but I also learned something. Tomorrow will be different. Then your perception changes and with it your emotional experience. Sometimes we exaggerate things without realizing it. We say that someone broke our hearts, when in reality he simply decided to take a different path. That doesn't ruin anything, it's part of life. The use of extreme words stirs up extreme emotions. That is why the Stoics invite us to be careful with our judgments. And how do you train your perception? Start with challenge your first impressions. If something bothers you, ask yourself, is this as bad as I think? Is there another way to look at it? The answer is almost always yes. Perhaps the person who spoke badly to you was simply having a bad day. Perhaps this failure is a new door opening. Having a trained perception does not mean lying to yourself, but rather seeing more clearly and less dramatically. The Stoics didn't demand that we not feel emotions. They urged us not to let ourselves be swept along by them like a leaf in the wind. They knew that a calm mind can see more clearly, and a clear mind makes better decisions. Lesson number 4. Train your perception, continued. Sometimes what seems boring or annoying can become valuable if we look at it differently. For example, imagine you're at a party and not having much fun. You could view this time as an opportunity to explore a new place, observe other people, or simply practice being present without relying on entertainment. You may not have made any new friends in the end, but you went in without expecting the worst, and that already changes the experience. You've chosen not to judge in advance. This practice of withhold immediate judgment, it's one of the secrets of a calm mind. Every time you feel like you already have a clear opinion about something or someone, ask yourself, am I fair? Where does this opinion come from? Is there another perspective that is more helpful or positive? Marcus Aurelius said something very profound. Damage only occurs when you perceive it as such. This means that things often affect us not because they are bad in themselves, but because we choose to view them as a wound, an injustice, or a tragedy. You have the power to decide how much a situation affects you. This is a skill that is trained like a muscle. The Stoics even proposed a challenge called "Turn around the obstacle." The idea is to turn everything negative into an opportunity. Imagine there's a new colleague at your workplace who's learning and making mistakes that affect the team. The easiest thing to do would be to complain or get frustrated. But you could also think, this is my opportunity to be patient, to help, and to lead by example. You may not realize it at the time, but every time you do this, you gain something that will be useful to you in the future: empathy, teaching ability, and emotional resilience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What hinders action becomes action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that difficulties are not enemies, but masters in disguise. In short, try to observe more calmly instead of jumping to hasty or exaggerated judgments. You may discover that life isn't as chaotic as it seems. Every situation has at least two perspectives, a dark one and a light one. When you choose to see things more clearly and less dramatically, life becomes lighter, simpler, and much more manageable. Lesson number 5. Learn to control your emotions. Marcus Aurelius also left us a very useful warning. Don't let your emotions override the reasoning of your mind. Emotions are a part of us. There's nothing wrong with feeling them, but if we let them control us, we can make impulsive decisions, hurt others, or act in ways we later regret. Therefore, the Stoics taught a wise mind cannot be pulled because of what he feels, but think first and act calmly. Anger, for example, is a powerful emotion. When someone betrays or hurts us, it's natural to feel angry. But if we let anger control us, we might yell, say mean things, or do something we later regret. The Stoics didn't say you should ignore your anger. They said again. When you are very angry, instead of exploding, ask yourself, what can I do with this anger that will be helpful? Yelling may seem tempting, but does it really help? Does it help the other person better understand your pain? It may be more effective to have a quiet conversation, write in a journal to express what you are feeling, go for a jog, listen to music, or do something creative. The same goes for anxiety or fear. You can't turn these feelings off with a button, but you can convert them into momentum. Imagine you're afraid to ask for a raise. Many people let this fear stop them. Others ignore it, jump in unprepared, and maybe it doesn't go well. But you can use this fear intelligently. You can use it as a cue to better prepare. Think about what you're going to say, anticipate questions, and practice your answer. Fear, in this case, helped you. Controlling your feelings is not the same as hiding them. Listen to them, understand them, and use them as a guide, not as bosses. Ask yourself, does what I feel help me or does it block me? Is there another healthier way to express this? The key is not to react rashly. Breathe before you act. Speak from a place of calm, not from a place of hurt. A mind that learns to deal with its emotions not only lives more peacefully, but also becomes stronger, wiser, and freer. This way you can prepare for any possibilities that worry you. By imagining different scenarios, you're not giving in to fear, but rather shaping it and transforming it into something manageable. Creating a plan gives you a sense of control and direction, but the most valuable thing is that fear isn't the enemy. It can be transformed into a positive force. It can motivate you to move forward, improve, and prove to yourself that you're stronger than you think. It's not about getting ahead. Despite out of fear, but out of moving forward, with fear as a driving force. And when you dare to act even though you're nervous or anxious, you may realize something incredible. You're facing what you feared. You're growing. You're changing. You may feel fear in your body, yes, but it no longer paralyzes you. You begin to notice that you're more calm and steadfast. And when you know how to redirect these intense emotions without suppressing or ignoring them, you begin to discover an inner peace that doesn't depend on what's happening around you. Controlling your emotions is not just a Stoic ideal, but a necessity for maintaining peace in the chaos of the modern world. At some point, We all feel overwhelmed by thoughts, worries, and mixed feelings. We are caught in a whirlwind of emotions that seem to dominate us. But amidst it all, Stoicism appears as an ancient and powerful guide, a compass that points to calm even when everything around you seems unstable. If this is your first time visiting this channel, please help me greatly by subscribing and liking it. This will allow me to continue sharing content that inspires reflection and growth. On this philosophical exploration, we'll discuss how acting calmly in the face of problems can help us find true inner peace. It's not about pretending nothing affects us, but about learning how to respond with awareness and wisdom. Stoicism, whose roots lie in ancient Greece and Rome, proposes a way of life based on reason, calm, and clarity. In this content, we'll discover how emotional serenity can become a kind of armor that protects us. We'll see how clear thinking helps us free ourselves from the emotions that drag us down, and how we can become freer and more flexible when we learn to let go of what isn't ours. Through the ideas of philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, we will learn to accept what we cannot change and see every challenge as an opportunity to strengthen character. We will see that we always have the power to choose how we respond. Stoicism is not an ancient philosophy locked away in dusty books. It is a useful, practical, and vibrant tool that leads us to inner peace in a noisy world. Join us on this journey of self-discovery and transformation. Let's explore together how a calm, almost unwavering attitude can help you live a more balanced life. No matter what storms come, you'll learn that it's not about avoiding difficulties, but about navigating them with wisdom and grace, as a good sailor would, braving the waves. If you want to go deeper, you can consult our ebook, The Power of the Mind, which guides you step by step to discover how to control your emotions and unleash your full potential. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment. Now let's start with the basics of Stoicism, but there's something important to understand. If you've been trying to step out of your comfort zone and learn more for a long time, but haven't been able to, there may be something you're not aware of. I know what it might be. It's fear. Fear is like a snake that silently arrives and influences you without you noticing. It makes you feel bad for days, months, and even years. Living like this is like being constantly sick, but I know a solution. Stoic philosophers and modern psychology have a way to eliminate this. I myself managed to cure this fear. I made a video explaining how to get rid of this evil, and it's in the first comment. Click the link in the first comment and begin healing this feeling of fear. 1. Understand the basic principles of Stoicism. Stoicism isn't just a nice idea or a set of motivational phrases. It's a practical guide to living well and learning to be at peace with oneself, even when the world seems disordered. One of its core principles is discerning what is within our control and what isn't. Suffering often arises from trying to control the uncontrollable. We want the climate to change. We want people to behave a certain way. We want life to follow our plan. But none of this is truly within our control. What we can control is how we react, what attitude we adopt, what actions we choose to take. And this is where the power of Stoicism comes into play. It invites us to focus our energy on what depends on us. Another basic principle is this: it is not the events themselves that influence us, but how we interpret them. Two people can have the same experience but feel very different things. One may sink into despair, another may see an opportunity for growth. The difference? Mindset. Learning to react calmly and clearly instead of impulsively is a trainable, life-changing skill. It's also important to accept that life is about change. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. It's inevitable. Resisting change only brings more pain. Accepting it, on the other hand, gives us freedom. When we understand that everything in life is temporary, both the good and the difficult, we can flow more easily and find peace even amidst chaos. Finally, the Stoics believed that virtue was the key to a good life. Virtue isn't an ancient word. It means acting wisely, being fair, having self-control and courage. These are the qualities that enable us to live with integrity, make right decisions, and remain steadfast even when things don't go as we expected. In short, Stoicism teaches us to focus our minds, choose our battles, accept the inevitable, and live with deep values. It invites us to act with clarity, serenity, and purpose. And that is perhaps the greatest power of all. By establishing a solid foundation on which to stand, we can begin to delve deeper into the ancient teachings and practices of Stoicism. We realize that acting as if nothing can affect us not only makes us feel calm within, but also helps us remain calm externally, no matter what problems arise later in life. 2. The power of detachment, how to let go to find peace. To achieve true inner peace, Stoicism offers us a very powerful tool, their placement. This doesn't mean we stop feeling or that we live without love or interest in things, quite the opposite. It means we learn to enjoy life without being trapped by desires, outcomes, or expectations. When we practice detachment, we gradually free ourselves from the inner tension that causes us to suffer. It's like letting go of a rope that was pulling us toward fear, control, and restlessness. Eliminate results. Live the process. One of the most liberating ideas of detachment is to stop obsessing over the results of our actions. We often pin all our happiness on a single outcome. I have to win, I have to achieve this. Everything will go wrong if what I want doesn't happen. But Stoicism invites us to change this way of thinking. Instead of waiting for the end, we learn to focus on the end. Road we give our best in every moment, without expecting everything to be perfect. If the result is good, we're happy. And if it's not, we accept it calmly and learn from it. Unlock new opportunities. When we stop clinging to a single outcome, we discover something beautiful. Life is full of alternative paths. Sometimes something that doesn't go as we expected evolves into a new opportunity we never could have imagined. Detachment allows us to be more flexible, creative, and open to the unexpected. Instead of viewing obstacles as failures, we begin to see them as challenges that invite us to grow. This openness changes the way we move through life, living in the present, being here and now. Detachment also helps us avoid living trapped in the future. Many people spend their lives worrying about what hasn't happened yet. What if it doesn't work? What if something goes wrong? What if I lose what I have? But living this way separates us from the present, which is the only real thing. Stoicism reminds us that we are fully capable. Now it's the key to finding peace. When we let go of the fear of tomorrow, we begin to enjoy the small moments of everyday life. A ray of sunshine, a conversation, a break. And there, in the simplicity, we find joy and meaning. Calm amidst uncertainty, life inevitably brings uncertainty. We can't control everything. There will always be unforeseen events, changes, and surprises. Detachment prepares us for these. It gives us a solid emotional foundation that allows us to move forward calmly, even when the path becomes uncertain. We no longer fight the inevitable. We accept it, we face it, and move forward calmly. This is a profound form of freedom. In summary, practicing detachment doesn't mean giving up on life. It means living it with more awareness and less fear. It's about letting go of the need to control everything. And in this act of letting go, space is created for inner peace. When we live detached, we become lighter, wiser, and more ready to embrace life's changes with the serene attitude typical of a Stoic mind. 3. The discipline of thought, training the mind to live calmly. On the path to inner peace, Stoicism offers us another essential tool: discipline of thinking. Just as we train the body to be strong and healthy, we can also train the mind to think clearly, remain calm, and act wisely. This discipline does not mean controlling every thought, but rather learning to know it, direct it, and transform it so that it helps us rather than harms us. Awareness of thoughts, the first step. It all starts with observation. We often spend the day not knowing what we're thinking, but if we pause for a moment and begin to look within, we notice something important. Our thoughts influence how we feel. When we believe something will go wrong, we feel fear. When we think we're not enough, we feel sadness. Therefore, the first step is to become aware of our thoughts without judging them. Simply observe them with curiosity and ask yourself, where does this idea come from? Is it helping me or harming me? Question: negative interpretations. Often, our minds react with automatic interpretations that aren't entirely realistic. For example, if someone doesn't respond to a message, we might think they're mad at me when in reality they're busy. The discipline of thinking encourages us to challenge these negative ideas, examine the facts objectively, and make room for other possibilities. This practice allows us to overcome fears and respond to life with more calm. Change negative thinking. Plant new ideas. When we discover negative thoughts, it is not just a matter of ignoring them. Replace them with more useful, kinder, and more rational thoughts. Instead of telling ourselves, "I'll never be able to do this," we can think, "I'll do my best step by step." By changing what we tell ourselves internally, we also change our external feelings. Gradually, our mind becomes a calmer place where we can find refuge, even when the outside world is hectic. Focus on what we can control. One of the most powerful lessons of Stoicism is learning to focus our energy only on what is within our control. We can't change the weather, other people's decisions, or many world events, but we can change our attitude, our words, our actions. When we stop worrying about what is beyond our control, we gain clarity. We use our energy to build instead of suffer. Gratitude and reflection, sowing serenity. Practicing gratitude is a simple yet powerful way to train the mind. Being thankful for what we have, no matter how small, helps us see the beauty in life, even on the greyest days. And reflection allows us to learn from every experience rather than simply reacting. These practices ground us in the present and remind us that even in the face of adversity, there are reasons to keep going. In summary, the discipline of thought helps us develop a strong and serene mind. It teaches us to observe what we think, to question what doesn't serve us, to choose wiser answers, and to live with gratitude. With each day we cultivate this discipline, we take another step toward a more balanced, peaceful, and free life. 4. Emotional serenity, the heart of Stoicism. At the heart of Stoicism lies a precious gem, emotional serenity. This virtue doesn't mean suppressing our emotions, but rather learning to manage them wisely, especially when life gets difficult. Emotional serenity is the ability to remain steadfast like a mountain, even when the winds of adversity blow strongly. Remain calm in the face of adversity. When we face problems, a loss, an argument, or disappointment, it's natural to experience strong emotions. However, Stoicism teaches us not to let these emotions take control. Instead of giving in to anger or fear, we learn to breathe deeply, observe the situation clearly, and act calmly. This calm response helps us think better and make wiser decisions. Control our reaction. While we can't stop life from inundating us with obstacles, we can choose how we respond to them. This personal power is one of the keys to Stoicism. Instead of allowing ourselves to be controlled by impulses, we cultivate the ability to respond with reflection. This doesn't mean being cold, but rather having the inner strength not to overreact. Do you have a long-term vision? Often, what worries us today isn't as important tomorrow. The Stoics encourage us to look beyond the moment. If something goes wrong for us today, it doesn't mean we've failed. What matters is how we move forward. This comprehensive vision helps us maintain emotional balance in the face of life's ups and downs. Serenity in the face of joy and pain. Emotional serenity is also reflected in how we respond to good things. We enjoy happy moments, but we don't cling to them as if they were eternal. And when painful moments come, we accept them with dignity. By not getting carried away by joy or sorrow, we find a deeper and more stable peace. Finding inner wisdom, serenity connects us to a wise part of ourselves. When we stop reacting automatically, we discover that we can respond calmly, intelligently, and compassionately. This is true emotional freedom. In short, emotional serenity is like a light that guides us in dark times. It teaches us to remain calm, act with intention, and find peace even in the midst of chaos. Cultivating it represents a crucial step toward a calmer and wiser life. 5. visualizing adversity, a silent preparation for strength. It may seem strange, but imagining difficult moments in advance is one of the most powerful tools of Stoicism. Rather than making you more anxious, this exercise strengthens you. It's like an invisible workout that prepares you to remain calm when the real challenges arise. Expect difficulties. Imagine for a moment an unpleasant situation, unfair criticism, a public mistake, bad news. Visualizing these possibilities doesn't mean anxiously waiting for them, but rather courageously preparing. This way, we strengthen our mood to react calmly and avoid being swept away by surprise or panic. Imagine a calm reaction. The next step is to imagine how we would like to act. What would happen if we reacted with calmness instead of anger or sadness? Imagine breathing deeply, listening attentively, and responding firmly and calmly. This exercise trains your mind to replicate this attitude in real life. Train emotional resilience. Every time we imagine how we can overcome a difficult situation, we strengthen our resilience. It's like building an invisible shield that protects us from discouragement. We no longer run away from pain, we face it with dignity. See personal growth. These visualizations not only protect us, but also help us grow. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to get to know ourselves better, discover new strengths, and evolve. Instead of feeling defeated, we learn to wake up wiser. Reduce anticipatory anxiety. What often harms us most is not the difficulty itself, but the fear of it. By imagining the worst-case scenarios and seeing that we can overcome them, our fear diminishes. We discover that we are stronger than we thought. In short, visualizing adversity is like a rehearsal for real life. It gives us clarity, strength, and peace. By practicing it, we are better prepared for whatever comes our way and come closer to Stoic serenity. 6. Acceptance of reality. The compass to calm. Accepting reality as it is may seem difficult, but it is one of the most liberating acts. Often we suffer more from resisting what is happening than from the facts themselves. Stoicism invites us to look at life honestly, and in this perspective find a path to inner peace. Understand what is under our control. There are many things we can't change: the past, the choices of others, the nature of the world. But we can always choose our attitude, our words, our actions. By focusing on what's in our hands, we stop wasting energy on things we can't change. Stop fighting reality. When we deny what's happening or wish things were different without being able to do anything about it, we suffer more. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up, but rather seeing the situation clearly and acting from there. Like a river that flows continuously, we learn to adapt rather than resist. Avoid unnecessary wars. Insisting on changing the unchangeable fills us with frustration. By accepting, we choose peace over conflict. We can use the energy we save to care for ourselves, help others, and grow. Finding beauty in imperfection. Life isn't perfect, and that's okay. Sometimes mistakes, changes, and losses teach us more than the easy times. When we learn to see the beauty in the simple, in the broken, in the human, we become more sensitive and wiser. Cultivate inner serenity. Acceptance is like a balm that calms the mind. By ceasing to fight the inevitable, we find deep peace. This serenity becomes our refuge, our guide, our strength. In short, accepting reality is an act of courage and humility. It connects us to what is essential, frees us from unnecessary suffering, and gives us clarity for a meaningful life. Through this practice, we cultivate a mind that is serene, wise, and open to life as it is. 1. You will have unrealistic expectations of people. Imagine you decide to do your best. You help your friends, listen to your family, and strive to be kind to everyone. You do it with an open heart, without conditions, or at least you think so. But deep down, something inside you is waiting for a response. You expect gratitude, recognition, perhaps a return of the gesture. And when that doesn't happen, it hurts. Does this sound familiar? This is a common and very human mistake, expecting others to act as we would. But the truth is, Not everyone sees the world through our eyes. Everyone has their own rhythm, their own way of loving, giving thanks, and responding. The Stoics taught us something very valuable. When you put your happiness in the hands of others, there is always the risk of disappointment. When we give and expect something in return, we create an invisible debt, even if we don't admit it. And when that debt goes unpaid, we feel sad, exploited, or ignored. Not because the other person did something wrong, but because our expectations weren't met. And that puts us in a constant state of pain. Additionally, when someone gets used to you always being there, they'll assume you can handle everything, your problems and theirs. They'll stop wondering if you're okay because you always say yes. What if you need help too? What if you're tired but no one notices because you've already given the impression that you can handle anything? That's why Stoicism invites us to practice a different kind of generosity. Free generosity, without strings attached, giving for the simple joy of giving, help without waiting, love without conditions. And if others appreciate it, how wonderful. But if not, keep your peace anyway. Your worth doesn't depend on how others react to you. Your strength lies in acting out of love, not need. When you understand this, disappointments will no longer destroy you. You will become freer, lighter, and more authentic. 2. People just expect you to give them something. When you give a lot, others get used to it. At first, they appreciate it, but over time, they take it for granted. It's no longer a gift, it's an expectation. It becomes normal for you to be available, to say yes, to take care of everything. And if one day you say no, they're surprised, they might even be annoyed. The Stoics spoke of moderation. Give, yes, but with balance. If you constantly give everything, you will become empty. No one can live without rest in giving. Even a well needs time to refill. People tend to stay where they feel comfortable. If you solve their problems, they stop trying. If you take on their responsibilities, they relax, not out of malice, but out of habit. But that doesn't help them grow, and it exhausts you. It's easy to fall into the trap of "I'll help because I can," but you can do so much that you forget about yourself. Your priorities fall by the wayside, your dreams, your needs, your peace of mind. Everything gets postponed because someone else needs you. That's why it's important to set boundaries, say so far. Being generous doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It's about knowing when to say no to protect your energy and sanity. It means remembering that you too deserve space, care, and respect. Giving with balance is an art. It means caring for others without neglecting yourself. When you give from a place of wholeness, what you offer is more authentic. And if someone only comes to you when they need something, it's time to examine that relationship. Sometimes setting boundaries is the clearest way to say, "I respect myself and invite you to grow as well." 3. Your priorities are being trampled on. When you live to please others, there's a hidden danger that you'll forget who you are. When you focus so much on the problems, wants, and needs of others, your own priorities become blurred. What was important to you is put on hold. And little by little, you drift away from your center. Sometimes this excessive devotion isn't born out of kindness, but out of fear. Fear of silence, of being with ourselves, fear of facing painful emotions. When we're alone, those inner voices we'd rather ignore emerge: sadness, insecurity, guilt, emptiness. And so we cling to constant activity. Helping others becomes a way to escape from ourselves. But running away never solves anything. It simply postpones the inevitable meeting with you. And the further you are from yourself, the more tired you become. Because living in inner separation is like walking barefoot on a stone path. The Stoics said we should live guided by reason and virtue, and that includes taking care of ourselves, listening to our inner voice, attending to our own needs. That's not selfishness, it's self-love, it's emotional health, it's honesty. If you don't take care of your priorities, no one will. You can't give others the best of yourself if you don't give yourself the best first. Setting boundaries, taking time off, and saying "I can't" are also part of living wisely. Because when you take care of yourself, you can take better care of yourself. Respect your feelings, even the unpleasant ones. Don't run away from them. Listen to them with compassion. Behind the pain lies a truth that wants to come to light. And only when you dare to look within can you begin to heal. Authenticity isn't about pleasing everyone. It's found in living in harmony with what truly matters to you. And because of this truth, your generosity will be purer, freer, and more powerful. 4. They are seen as weak and treated as such. Sometimes we think that helping is always the right thing to do. It's a sign of kindness to be available, to say yes without hesitation, and to offer a hand whenever someone needs it. And yes, helping is a noble thing. But if we don't set boundaries, this nobility can become a trap. When you're constantly available, when you never complain, when you accept more than you should, some people don't see that as a strength. They see it as a weakness, a sign that they can demand more of you, that you don't need care or rest, that you can do anything, not even what isn't yours. And then something unfair but real happens. Instead of thanking you for your help, they demand it from you. They no longer ask if you can help. They simply take it for granted. They don't see you as an equal, but as someone who's there to serve them. And little by little, you feel overwhelmed, tired, and ignored. But this is where Stoic teachings come into play. Their true power lies in self-control, knowing when to give but also when to stop. Saying no isn't selfish. It's about being aware of your own worth. When you learn to set boundaries, something powerful happens. People begin to see you differently. You're no longer someone who's easily manipulated. You're someone who respects themselves and knows their worth. Your firm but respectful no is a statement of dignity. And over time, that inspires respect in others. You don't have to shout or force yourself. You just need to remember that respect starts with you. If you don't value your time and energy, no one else will. But if you do, the world will notice. 5. You will have many buts. If you're generous and always willing to help, it's common for people to seek you out, but not always for the right reasons. At first glance, it may seem like you're surrounded by people who need you and appreciate what you do. But over time, you may notice a painful pattern. They only call you when there's a problem. They only involve you when something breaks, when someone is having a difficult time, or when they need support. But when it comes to meetings, laughter, outings, or moments of joy, you're not on the list. That hurts, because you're giving without asking for anything in return. But it hurts to realize that many see you only as a resource, not as a company. As someone useful, not as someone valuable for who you are. This behavior isn't always malicious. Sometimes it's unconscious, but it's real. People tend to surround themselves with people who bring them joy, company, and fun. And sometimes those who always solve problems don't fit into that category. The Stoics wouldn't tell you to stop helping, but they would invite you to observe clearly. Develop discernment. See who truly appreciates you and who is just approaching you out of interest. This isn't meant to make you cold or distrustful. It's meant to protect you, to give you the space to decide who you give your time, your energy, your heart to. And also to recognize that you deserve to be there in good times, not just in crises. When you set boundaries, you choose your relationships more carefully. And over time, you surround yourself with people who are with you out of love, out of respect, out of true affection. People who invite you, include you, and celebrate you. Helping is nice, but it's necessary to be where you are appreciated. Your presence is a gift. Don't give it away to those who don't appreciate it. 6. You will only attract needy people, and never those who are willing to give. People don't just communicate with words. They also do so with their energy, their attitude, their way of being in the world, and this energy attracts or repels. It's like an invisible sign that says, this is what I have to offer and this is what I'm willing to accept. When you give too much without taking care of your own well-being, you become exhausted. You lose your light. And without realizing it, you begin to attract people who don't want to share but rather consume. People who aren't interested in a balanced relationship, but rather in someone who will solve their problems. You become a magnet for the needy, but not for the generous. It's a sad paradox. The more you give without measure, the less you have left, and the more you attract those who only come to ask. And the more tired you are, the less you attract people who could help you. The Stoics talked about living wisely, not surrendering without conscience, practicing discernment. That means knowing when to help and when to step back. It means tending your energy as if it were a sacred fire. Don't let it go out, for it illuminates the entire world. When you learn to take care of yourself, recharge, and find balance, something changes. Your energy increases. You begin to attract people who also care, who also give, who also want to build something. Relationships where there isn't one person giving and another receiving, but two people who truly accompany each other. This is what you deserve, and you can only achieve this if you decide to stop trying to please everyone and instead recognize your worth. 7. You could become addicted. At first glance, the word addiction seems far-fetched, something that only happens to people with serious problems. But in reality, any habit that gets out of control can become a form of escape. And the most disturbing thing about it is that the search for relief often begins when we are simply exhausted. The Stoics knew this. That is why they emphasized the importance of moderation and the self-control, not to limit ourselves, but to protect ourselves. When we give too much, when we're always there for others without taking care of ourselves, we gradually empty ourselves internally. And when we feel this emptiness, our body and mind search for ways to fill it. Some people do this by eating more than necessary, or drinking more, or sitting in front of screens for hours for no reason, or even saying yes to everything, as if the constant giving might calm them down. And while it seems to help at first, over time it only worsens the feeling of exhaustion. This is where Stoic self-discipline comes in. It's not about punishment, but about deep caring. It's stopping to listen to your body, your mind, and your feelings. It means accepting with humility when someone tells you, "You are changing, I notice you're gone." It looks like you're running away from something. These words, even if they hurt, come from someone who cares about you. Accepting these observations isn't a sign of weakness but of inner strength. It means you're willing to look within, take care of yourself, and choose a healthier path. Sometimes that starts with a simple pause, by stopping giving for a moment to return to yourself. Remember, taking care of yourself is also an act of generosity, because only when you are kind to yourself can you truly give without breaking down inside. And living in balance, as the Stoics taught, truly allows us to enjoy a full, free life without invisible chains that imprison us without even realizing it. 8. You will arouse suspicion. If you're kind, sincere, and generous without expecting anything in return, people will ideally welcome you with gratitude. But the reality is sometimes quite different. Instead of admiration, you may find mistrust. Instead of gratitude, ask uncomfortable questions. Why is he so nice? What will you really want? What is your hidden intention? And it's not that you've done anything wrong, quite the opposite. It's precisely your kindness that's surprising because it's unusual. Many people have been hurt or betrayed before. They've learned to suspect first and trust later. They live with the idea that if something looks too good, it probably has a hidden trick. The Stoics teach us not to rely on the opinions of others. Our task is to act virtuously, honestly, consistently, without expecting applause. If you do good and it arouses suspicion, that's not your problem. It's a reflection of a world that has forgotten how to trust. This doesn't mean you should become hard or stop helping, but it does mean you need to be vigilant. Not everyone will respond positively to your generosity. Some will want to take advantage. Others simply won't know how to respond. So what can you do? Strategy number 1. Listen to your feelings. Your feelings are not your enemies. They are signs, silent messages that show you what's going on inside you. How do you feel after you help someone? Light, at peace, content? Or rather exhausted, frustrated, invisible? When you realize that you're giving more than you can, that your energy is benefiting people who only ask but don't give, stop. This uncomfortable feeling isn't selfishness. It's your soul telling you that something is wrong. Stoic self-reflection invites you to observe yourself honestly, not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Don't fool yourself by saying, "That's just who you are," when it hurts inside. Changing yourself isn't about betraying yourself, but about protecting yourself. Strategy number 2. Lose the fear of the word no. Saying no is uncomfortable. We've been taught that it can sound rude or selfish, but it isn't. It's a tool of freedom. No helps you reclaim your time. It protects you from abuse. It gives you peace of mind. You don't have to say it harshly, but you do have to say it clearly. If someone asks you to do something and you know it will throw you off balance, dare to say no. You can practice in front of the mirror. You can write it down first. You can take a deep breath before speaking. But most importantly, remember that every time you say no out of respect, you are saying yes to yourself. Stoicism doesn't want you to be hard or cold. Strive to be free. And freedom begins when you learn to care for yourself with the same compassion you care for others. Strategy number 3. There's a time and a space for you. Respect it. In a world where everything seems urgent and everyone seems to need something from you, taking care of your own time can feel like a luxury. But according to the Stoics, it's not a luxury. It's a necessity. You're important too, your well-being, your peace of mind, your moments of quiet. None of this is the end of the list if there's nothing left to do for others. It's right at the beginning, where it should be. Stoicism teaches us to practice self-discipline, not only to fulfill external obligations, but also to protect the spaces that nourish us within. What do you enjoy doing? What recharges you? Perhaps it's taking a moment to read in peace, take a walk in the park, paint, write, do yoga, or simply enjoy a cup of tea while listening to your favorite music. What seems small is sacred. Make it a priority. Schedule this time the way you would schedule an important meeting. Don't put it off. Don't sacrifice it for something that can wait. If someone asks you for help right away, it's okay to say no. Not harshly, but clearly. The schedule is already full, because that's the way it is. He's busy with you, and if you don't want to sound so blunt, you can suggest another time to help. But make it clear that your availability is limited. Because yes, you have a life that deserves attention, affection, and care. And if you don't protect it, no one else will. Remember, respecting your time isn't selfishness, it's self-love. And only when you give yourself this space can you return to the world with more energy, more clarity, and more inner peace. Just as the Stoics taught. Strategy number 4. Identify energy vampires and stay away from them. There are people who, without realizing it, or sometimes unfortunately intentionally, steal our energy. They come with their complaints, their constant dramas, their stories that never change. They don't look for solutions. They simply look for someone who will listen to them again and again. They are called energy vampires. The Stoics talked a lot about discernment, the ability to clearly observe what's happening around you and within you. As you practice discernment, you'll begin to notice how you feel after being with certain people. Do you feel calm, or do you feel exhausted, frustrated, drained? If you feel like you're emptying yourself every time you help someone, it's time to ask yourself, does this person want to change, or does he just want me to endure what he doesn't even want to endure? And here comes an unpleasant but liberating truth. You can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. You can try it once, maybe twice. But if after that you see no intention of changing, the smartest thing you can do is leave. Not out of contempt, but out of respect for yourself. Stoic self-control isn't just about managing strong emotions. It's also about knowing when to stop, when to say enough, and when to say goodbye to what robs us of our peace. You don't have to confront anyone or create drama. Just start marking the distance, little by little. Fewer messages, fewer meetings, less energy for those who don't appreciate what you have to offer. The right measure, neither too much nor too little life, as the Stoics knew, is about balance. Being generous is fine, but not if it means forgetting yourself. Being reserved isn't bad, but neither is opening your heart to those who deserve it. The ideal point lies in the middle, in the space where you can give without emptying yourself and receive without being dependent. Giving too much can leave you with no time, no energy, no resources, and a sense of abandonment. Giving too little can leave you trapped in a bubble of selfishness that distances you from real life. Therefore, lean toward the shades of grey, the middle tones, the balance where you can be kind to others, and with you at the same time. And if you ever have doubts about whether to say yes or no, remember this magic word, no, said firmly, with respect, with love. Especially when they ask you to do something you know will be stressful.